Tampa Bay Buccaneers squeaked out with a victory in Charlotte against their division rival, the Panthers. Now they get to host the Las Vegas Raiders, who nearly stole one in Kansas City, but unfortunately a botched snap and a controversial call ended up with a loss for them on Black Friday. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 14 matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But before we get into that, we do have a goal of getting to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. Ryan, Buccaneers coming out with the victory here. Needed it. It was a good day for them overall as my Atlanta Falcons absolutely just choked one away. Had plenty of opportunities to win that game. Defense actually played well. And so with Buccaneers now, they almost lost that game, but thanks to Chuba Hubbard fumble in overtime, able to take it down the field and kick a field goal. So great day for them. Tied in the division overall, but the Falcons have the tiebreaker thanks to the head-to-head matchup. Raiders, though, Aiden O'Connell came back into the lineup here and had an absolutely amazing game against the Kansas City Chiefs. 23 for 35, 340 yards. He made a new best friend. His name is Brock Bowers, who is having – absolutely stud of a year. Probably rookie of the year. It's Bo Nix is having a great year as well. A lot of other
Bo Nix
teams, I think,
especially the quarterback position. I think you got to give it to Bo Nix.
Probably, but he's going to turn into one of the generational tight ends. He's already one of the generational tight ends. So he's going to be very interesting because I have a question as well for you. Especially too when it comes to offseason stuff for the Raiders. But we'll get to that towards the end of the video. Want to throw it over to you here, though. What do you think the Raiders need to do to come in and beat the Buccaneers? And on the flip side, too, what do the Buccaneers need to improve on, and so they don't have to worry about squeaking out a victory like how they did today?
Yeah, for me, it's going to come down to getting pressure on Baker Mayfield for this Raiders team. If they cannot make mistakes on offense and then get pressure on Baker Mayfield, I think they're going to keep the game close. Because I think on the defensive side, the Panthers showed that you can win in the trenches against this team as well. And I think if they can get after Baker Mayfield, force a few turnovers, I think that's going to be crucial for them in this matchup. You got to feed Brock Bowers over the middle, get him the ball in space, and let him go create. It's going to be a fun one. I was looking at this, and this is a good matchup because this is a good defensive line for Las Vegas. This offensive line is much improved for Tampa Bay over the last few seasons. And Aiden O'Connell came in. He looked more than serviceable in that start against the Chiefs. They were actually able to run the ball decently well. They had some big plays, not outside of Brock Bowers. They had the big touchdown to Trey Tucker also. And so, like, this Raiders offense is not like this totally inept team. So I just think they got to come in, play a clean game, force some mistakes, and see if they can win that. Like, they're not explosive enough on the offensive side of the ball to go win these games 19 or 31-27, but they can win these games 19-16.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be one of the interesting things too is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, their pass defense is 30th overall in the league when it comes to yards allowed. They're averaging 258.25 yards per game through the air. And the Raiders, I will say, I agree with you overall when it comes to this offense not being completely inept, except when it comes to the running game. They did have over 100 rushing yards, I think 112 rushing yards to be exact, against the Chiefs. Since McCormick, he had a solid game, over 60 rushing yards last week. But in general, though, this Raiders offense has not been able to run the ball at all. And if there's a strength to this defense, it is going to be that defensive line with Vita Vea up front. I think it's tough for teams to run against. Even you go look at this Carolina team who actually had a decent running game overall with Chuba Hubbard, and then Jonathan Brooks has now started to play as well. They held them to just 78 rushing yards during the game. And actually, too, Bryce Young has some of those rushing yards. Overall, they held Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks to under 60 rushing yards.
I do want to say that was the sickest catch I've seen in a long time by Adam Thielen. The play before the Chuba Hubbard, the fumble, that was a disgusting catch.
Great catch, absolutely amazing, super clutch. But then Chuba Hubbard unfortunately fumbled the ball in overtime. So, I going back to this game, the Raiders do have opportunities here, and it's going to be just like how we question how are the Chiefs going to guard Brock Bowers, how are the Buccaneers going to guard Brock Bowers? But on the flip side, though, too, they do have Jacoby Myers as well, who is still having a solid season. You got Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. It does kind of fall off overall when it comes to pass production from that, but Brock Bowers is just so dominant that he's just kind of a mismatch nightmare overall. He's pretty much just a fast, physical receiver that can line up in slot and can also block really well also. So he's just one of the best tight ends that we've seen in a really long time. So how are the Buccaneers going to stop that? But on the flip side, though, too, to your point, Buccaneers, since losing Chris Evans, has come back, which is good for this team overall. But still struggle. It seems like they're struggling a little bit when it comes to just consistent, explosive offensive production as well. Panthers defense is one of the worst in the league, but they did play well today, to be fair to the Buccaneers. This Raiders defense, though, statistically, they're above average overall, averaging their 14th overall in total yards allowed, 15th in passing, and 12th in rushing yards allowed. So, and this is a top 10 offense with this Buccaneers team. Are they going to, if they're struggling against this Panthers team, it was on the road, it was a division rival, yes. But is there something deeper going on, or was it just maybe just not their best game and they were able to squeak out a win? That's going to be the biggest thing is how well does this Buccaneers offense do against this Raiders defense? And can this Raiders defense have a similar type performance against the Buccaneers as they did the Chiefs and really put Baker Mayfield under pressure, somehow stop Bucky Irving and Rachaad White in this rushing attack as well, and find a way to slow the ball down? I will say one key point that you mentioned earlier that I disagree with. Las Vegas Raiders, if my numbers are correct, only have 5 takeaways on the year. And so that's going to be a big thing overall. So you mentioned, can they get takeaways? It's like cause Baker Mayfield into some bad throws. They haven't been able to do that all year. So that's going to be the biggest thing is, can they keep this offense all on the field? Can they put Aiden O'Connell and Brock Bowers and company back on the field to just try and make the game quick, get a lead, and just kind of maintain and contain from there. So do you have one quick question to talk about the offseason? Because the Raiders season's done. They're 2-10, potentially even a top 2 or 3 pick, depending on how things shake out. But I want to throw it over to you, though. If Aiden O'Connell keeps playing super well, now that he has Brock Bowers, do you draft a quarterback?
Yeah.
With the 2nd, 3rd overall pick, you still do that?
Yeah,
if Aiden O'Connell's putting up 300-plus yards.
I mean, okay, so like if he closes out the season and like in these last 5 games, he's averaging 300-plus yards and a couple touchdowns, then maybe I think you have that conversation. He had one good game against a division rival. So I personally don't think you're having that conversation yet of is Aiden O'Connell the guy for us?
That makes sense.
For me, if you're picking 2-3 overall, I think you go and you get a Cam Ward. You could do Shedeur. He has more ties to the organization as he's worked with Tom Brady in the past and stuff. And with Dion, I think that would be a good fit. I like Cam Ward a little bit better, I think. But all in all, I think you get your quarterback of the future. And then, honestly, one of the things right now, I know you need to beef up this offensive line, but this is a pretty good, depth class. I think in the second round, you also might go and get like an Amarian Hampton, a Quinshon Judkins. Go get your bell cow back, and then have the current backs kind of be the spell backs. And when that guy's taking a break, we're gonna give carries to somebody else. That to me is the way to go. And I think Amarian Hampton is quickly becoming one of my favorite prospects in this class. So he may not be there for their 2nd pick, but I think you go quarterback, running back, and then beef up in the trenches.
Him, and then is it Caleb Johnson out of Iowa?
Yeah, that's another good one as well.
I really like him a lot as well.
This is a really good running back class. I laugh.
Yeah.
Last year, I felt like it was not a good running back class, but it was a great receiver class, and that's totally flipped. And then it was a really good tackle class last year, and not a so great edge class, and it's a fantastic edge class and not that great of a tackle class. And so it's funny how the draft process kind of works itself out. And I'm sure we'll have some risers later on in this draft process. But right now, I think the Raiders are one of the few teams in that true QB hunt at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. to see what happens in this offseason. The Raiders, too, they have some potential and some pieces to build around now, for sure. So what they do with their first pick, potentially too, if it's first overall pick, it is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah. So let's jump back to this game really quick. Let's do our predictions. If it's not obvious, I think we're both taking the Buccaneers in this matchup. I just don't the Raiders. I don't trust them to come out and have a consistent performance from week to week. If they had been doing this to teams all year where it's like they should have won but didn't, maybe I would be more willing to take them because the Bucs are they're an above average team, but they are 6-6. Like they're not a world beater. And so I think you come in and like maybe this Raiders team can shock some people. But I just think the Bucs are going to be too good for them. They're going to have too much talent right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers as well. Something similar as kind of what we talked about with the Chiefs game last week is like there's there's avenues I could see for the Raiders to beat the Buccaneers here if they're able to shut down this offense and create some turnovers, even though they haven't been able to all season really. But this defense is good. This defensive line is good enough. It could be a potential upset here, but I would say 8 times out of 10, I think the Buccaneers are going to win this game.
Yeah. So we're both taking the Bucs in this matchup. Let's go ahead. We'll wrap this video up. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Las Vegas Raiders? Will it be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.